Welcome to the Data Hall YouTube channel. In past couple of videos, we had been talking about how do we work with string variables in R. We are going to continue the string variable chapter in this video. So in this video, we are going to cover how do we extract data from a string variable. We are going to discuss extracting string, working with string length, changing case, removing white spaces, whether they are trailing, leading, or they are within the text, and working with specific or removing specific string from a text. So let's load the tidyverse library. We are going to load the tidyverse library. If you haven't installed it, you need to first install it and then execute it. So firstly, let's look at these two functions, which is str sub versus sub str. This sub str is the base R function, whereas this str sub, as we know, is coming from the string R library that is part of the tidyverse package. So if we were to use the str sub to extract certain text, let's say we have the zip code, zip for 0009, and we know that a zip code is of 5 digits. So just we want to extract the numerical part of this zip code. What we do is we use the str sub and then specify the string that we want to work with, starting position and the ending position. So we want to start from the character number, the character at the 4th position. So this is the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th position, and we want to go till the 8th position. If you press Ctrl Enter, we get the numerical part of this zip code. Similarly, if we have, let's just say, different, sometimes we work with files, with CSV file, and we want to remove the ending part of the file name, whether that is a CSV file or any other file, but normally the extension is of 3 digits. So what we can do is with str sub, we have this minus, it can take minus values, and what this minus value would mean is that start from the 1st position of the string, that is this one, and extract all these strings till the minus 5th position from the end of the series. So that should be till C. So if you press Ctrl Enter, it should give me the name of that file. Now this is now we want to compare this with sub str, which is the base R function, but do remember that in sub str the syntax is exactly the same, but one thing that we cannot do is we cannot have negative integers. If we give negative integers, it would return an empty string. So that is the difference between substr and str sub. So str sub is somewhat superior to sub str, which is coming. This is the base R function, and this is the function from the string R library. There are certain functions from the tidyr package, and these are 4 of these functions which I'm going to discuss. First one is they all start with the separate, and then there is this middle word which is longer, and then whether you want to separate the text based on a delimiter or a specific position. So this function would separate the text into longer format, that is convert the text into rows. So split into rows based on delimiter, and this one would do the same as this one, but split the text based on certain positions. So it splits into rows based on position. The other one, which is the wider functions, these would split the text into columns. So let's start with the first one, which is split, separate longer delimiter. So let's say we have this data frame over here, and this data frame just have one column, and it contains certain text. We have different numbers, different alphabets. We can have separate alphabets, but they all are separated by a comma. So let's call it an example data frame. And if I can show you the data frame, we have these 3 rows. What we want is we want to take all these characters, separate them by comma, right? And we want to convert them into rows. So what we want to do is separate this text into a longer format because we want them into rows using a delimiter, which is comma. So we take the data frame, the example data frame, and then we input it into this function, where the first element of this function would be the column that we want to delimit, or the string that we want to delimit, and the second function would be the delimit itself, which is how do we separate these characters, and that is using comma. So if I press Control Enter, we can see that it had separated using the comma delimiter and converted them into rows. We could have saved them in a data frame. Let's work with the second function, which is separate longer based on position. And let's say we have this data frame where we have different digits or characters, but they aren't separated using comma. Rather, they are separated. They can be separated based on certain position, but there is no specific delimiter, either space or comma or tab or dot. So they can be separated based on position, but not based on delimiter. If I can have the example, this would be example 2 data frame. We have these strings, and let's take this example 2 data frame, and then we pass that into this separate longer position data frame function. We want it to take the column A and separate them using 1 width, right? This is the width of the text that it would separate, and you get to see that it had converted into longer or rows. So longer means that we want it to be converted into longer. It is similar to the pivot longer and pivot wider concept. Let's work with the other 2 functions which would separate them into columns. So we work with separate wider delimit. We have this data frame which contains date of births. It just have 1 column, that is date of births of different individuals. We have these date of births and they are separated by a dash. Now we want to have a separate column for months, for days, for month, and for year. So we want to have a 3 column that would contain the day, that would extract the date, the month, and the year from this date. So let's take this data frame. Let's first create this data frame. Let me show you the data frame. We have these dates, and let's take this data frame and then pipe it into this separate wide delimit function. We take the column DOB and we delimit it using a dash. Now this is the same parameters that we had in the separate longer case, but the new argument that we have over here is the names. That is the name of the column that would be generated, because in wider case, in separate wider, we would have columns rather than these text to be separated in rows. So we want it to have day, month, and year column, and let's generate this. And you can see we have 3 columns, day, month, and year, and the text had been separated using this hyphen sign. Next let's say we have this kind of date. These are the same dates, but now they are not separated using dash. Rather, they are separated based on a specific position. So each date of birth is of the same size. So as compared to this one, so we didn't had 04, but in this case we have 04. So the days are exactly of 2 digits, the months are exactly of 2 digits, and the year is exactly of 4 digits. So let's generate this data frame. This data frame looks like this. We want to create again 3 column, but this time what we are going to do is we are going to separate them based on position. So it would take 2 arguments. First is the column and the second one is the width, and we would create a vector of width. The day column would have a length of 2 digits, month column would have length of 2 digits, and year column would have length of 4 digits. If I press Control Enter, we get these separated. Let's move to our next topic. Now this isn't particularly related to extracting extracting string, but these come in handy when we work with string variables. So let's say we have this string and we want to know the length of the string, the number of characters that are there in this string, we use the strLength function. Now this strLength function would give us 8, and that means we have 8 characters within this string. Now this strLength function is coming from the string-r library, but it is somewhat easy to remember because we know we want to get the length of the string. There is this base r function which is known as nchar, and that would give us the exact same output. These are identical function. The only thing is that they have a different name. Then we have different functions to change case of string, like we can convert it into upper string, lower title case, or sentence case. They all come from the string-r package. That's what we know when we see str_. So str to upper, string to upper, we have these characters. They are in lowercase, and we got it converted into uppercase or into lowercase using str to lower. We can convert this into title case, where the first alphabet of each word would be capitalized, or the sentence case, where just the first alphabet of the first word would be capitalized. Okay, let's now work with white spaces and how do we remove these white spaces from text. Let's say we have a text over here where we have white at the start of the text, and then we have multiple white spaces at the middle of the text and at the end of the text. Now this trim function, what it would do is it would only eliminate these starting and ending spaces, multiple spaces. If we press Ctrl Enter, we can see that the starting and ending spaces had been removed, but we didn't remove the middle spaces that were there. Now this is somewhat similar to strtrim function, but strtrim is somewhat difficult to use, and this comes from the base r, whereas this str_trim comes from the string-r package. So we'll stick to str_trim. Now the way around of working with these multiple within text spaces is we can either remove them by using this strReplaceAll function, and within this what we need to do is first we need to specify the text, and then we need to specify the pattern that would identify these spaces. And what we want is remove all these spaces by a single space. So if I press Ctrl Enter, it would remove all the spaces that are within the text, but obviously it would have the starting spaces. So a better function to work with is str_squish function, and it would remove, it works like, it's quite an easy way of working with. You do not have to worry about the regex. This is what we would cover in our next video. It would remove the starting spaces, the leading, trailing spaces, and multiple spaces that are there within the text. We can obviously pipe it into other functions if we want to. Lastly, we are going to work with how do we remove a specific string from a text, or we replace it with another text. So there is this string remove or string remove all function. They work identical, except that string remove would only replace the first occurrence of that specific character. So let's say we have over here certain text, and we want to replace, we want to remove a from this text. So what this would do, string remove would only remove the first occurrence of that specific text, whereas string remove all would remove all the occurrence of that text. Similarly, we have string replace, where it would replace this text with this specific text. So again, it would replace only the first occurrence, right? But if we use string replace all, it would replace all the occurrence of that specific text. So I hope this video was useful. Do subscribe to this channel, stay tuned, and do hit the like button. Thanks for watching this video.